Okay, can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
So this is just a PDF I have. Some of you, if you're having issues opening it, just let me know and I can send it in PDF form. But if you haven't had the opportunity to look at it yet in your packet of things that you picked up with your ballot, I did make some changes this year just to try and streamline stuff and make it hopefully easier on all of us. So going on the first page, you'll see that I did update the checklist. So basically this PowerPoint is going to walk you through everything that you'll do on election night, so you can let your chief inspectors know that they're going to follow this checklist and put their materials back in the blue bags in the order of this checklist. So each slide is has part of this checklist. Big thing on the bottom is we want to make sure that you guys sign it and give us a telephone number of someone who is going to be available on election or the day after when we do the canvass. Oh, sorry. So then going on to page 2.
Yeah.
So this is the ballot container certificate. Nothing really changed there. That's going to look the same as it always has. Charlene takes care of getting that in there. The election tape, we've been going back and forth with this, and maybe Raymond, I looked in guidance because when we met with Command Central, they said to leave the 0 tape attached, and other trainings that I've listened to have said that as well. So is that the guidance that we want to go with?
That's what she talked about before.
I mean, it's all going to be stapled to the tally. I don't know what impact it is if we don't.
Okay. So basically then things are going to stay the same as they have in the past. I mean, if you want to leave it attached, basically you're going to tear off your ones that you have to keep for yourself, and then you're going to keep going from there. The next one is the tally sheets and the call-in sheets. Those I changed up this election. Important part on there is it says purple on the checklist, but it actually is pink. I have it highlighted where you need to call in that night. Don't leave any voicemails.
Do we think we could put people put their mics on mute, please, so that we don't have any background noise? I'd appreciate that.
So the top part is basically mirrors your inspector statement. And the reason for that was I had spoke to other counties, and they expressed that helps on the day of the canvass for when we're doing that. So that's why I added that, so you can put those numbers on there. And then basically you'll have your whole tally sheets of all the different races in all the different parties on there. So you'll put your total from your tape. Hand count is only going to be if you would run out and we would have to get copies, or you would make copies. So it's pretty self-explanatory. Just make sure that you're signing the certification page at the end. And then the general purpose tally sheets, those I'm going to email to you if you need them. So, we're here in the office and we know if people are needing copies or needing to copy stuff themselves. So if you have to do a hand count that night, I will email you your copy of your general tally sheet. And then we're moving on to the inspector statement. Of course, that is going to remain the same. I can't change that. The only thing I did do was those counties that have multiple machines, is they'll have an inspector statement for each machine, and that basically is just to give you some more room to put those numbers. So the section to be completed by the election inspectors and verified by the chief inspector, that's going to be the same on all of them. Your times might be different on some of them, but basically just so that the serial number pertains to the machine versus trying to fit everything on one. And then, just making sure, your incidents are on the back of there, and making sure to know what is an incident and what isn't. So EDRs do not go on the inspector statement. Those are not incidents. So, we didn't have a lot of things that we had to point out on the last election for that. And then, of course, your poll books, those will be coming out here in a couple weeks. Just making sure that you are putting the absentees in red, circling the last voter number in red. So nothing really changed on that. You'll have your supplemental voter poll list will be in there as well. So that's where if you are doing EDRs, you're going to put them on there. And then the ones that use these little check-off sheets, we've included them in this election. We are not going to include them in the future. You'll have a PDF version that you can print off if you like to use them. Just trying to save a little bit of money on those. And then the reconciliation form, this is there's a little blurb on all these on what you need to do, but basically you're going to work with someone and you're going to open the poll book to the A's and count all the A's for the regular and the absentee. And if there's any discrepancies, you're going to explain all that. You're just going to do that through the entire poll book. And then when you get both forms completed, you want to make sure they match. And then it says you want to pick 3 random pages from the poll book to compare that they match what you have on your list. And then the corrections. This one, I put the name in there, but really name changes, if there's a name change, it is an EDR. Address changes do not have to be an EDR. Changes do have to be an EDR. It would only be if there's a correction. So like in my example, I had the voter's address was street and it appeared in the poll book as avenue. So that would be one that you would put on your correction sheet to update and WIS vote after the election. Any questions so far?
I have a question.
Okay.
Do you want the voter number sheet back? On
No.
on your check-in sheet, like line number 7 says voter number list, so I guess I don't know what that is then.
You can just put an NA there.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. And I'll probably update a couple things for the next one. This is all kind of obviously new to me, so I'm kind of doing trial and error. So as we're going through all this, you guys feel free to give me any feedback or suggestions, things that would, work better or that you like to keep the same, that type of thing. And then the absentee ballot log, just making sure that you put the voter number on there when you turn it in to us. And then this EDR postcard statistics report is new. This is something that I didn't do in the past 2 elections that I found out that I should have been doing. So basically what you're doing is you're writing in the total number of your EDRs for the reliers, self-reliers. If you enter them yourself, you can do that. Just make a copy and return it to me. The EDRs themselves, if you guys can just make copies of those and give them to me and keep the originals for yourself, that way I'm not having to try and get everything back to you because I still have a bunch from the spring that I need to, and I see I put on here August 11th spring election, so that one will be changed. But just put in your total and then the ones that I'm entering them in, send them back to me so that basically they want to know. They send out a postcard to every EDR person, and if those come back undeliverable, then we need to research why, basically just for fraud is what they're trying to track. So most times you're not going to get any back. If somebody gave you the right address and everything is good, they shouldn't come back to you. And then this is just a little blurb about how to complete your EDR, because we had a lot of them come in last time that were not complete on the bottom part. So just making sure that you're filling out the bottom part and putting in, you know, the proof that you're using. So if it's driver's license, it's DMV, and proof of residence number, it's the last 4 numbers, and the date you complete it. So just making sure that it's completed in full so you can read that over. And then your security seal envelope, nothing's changing there, that you keep. You don't need to return that. And then all the envelopes that we get, so the rejected absentee ballot, you know, just reading through that, what goes in there. If you don't use the envelopes, so you can return them to us and we'll recycle them for the next year or next election. Same thing with your certificate envelope for absentee electors. And then the original ballot envelope, those go in. And spoiled as well. The spoiled envelope, ballot envelope, is the only one that you keep for yourself of those big ones. So that does not get returned to the, if there's ballots in it, that does not get returned to the clerk's office. If it's an empty one, you can send it back and we'll reuse it at the next election. And then your green media bag is going to be in there, and you're going to want to make sure that it is sealed. And that the zipper can't be open, and then put it inside the green bag, or excuse me, inside the blue bag. And then of course you have your blue bag. The green media goes in there. This does not go in your ballot bag, so we have some coming back where everything is shoved in the ballot bag and sealed, and then we have to document that we cut the seal and we put a new seal on. So just reviewing the checklist. If you have, you know, as you're doing it with your chief inspectors, questions, just shoot me an email or give me a call. And of course, if there's any comments or things that you want to include for the Board of Canvassers, always make sure and, you know, just let us know. If there's, we'd rather have it up front than to be going through everything and being like, oh, what is this all about? And then we have to stop and try and get a hold of you guys. So I appreciate everyone's time, and I will turn it back over to Raymond unless you guys have questions.
Hey, just one quick thing on the ballot bags. Make sure you return 2 red ones. Because we sent out the ballots that are used by absentee voters in a red bag. So make sure you're returning 2 bags. They're expensive. But anyway, I digress. Speaking of absentee ballots, I'm going to get off a little bit of what I sent out for the 4 or 5 items for the topics. But on Election Day, which is, you know, only a couple of weeks away, make sure that you're aware that you have ballots that are scored that we use to send out to absentee voters, and you have ballots that are not scored because they're cheaper and they're generally used for the election day voting or in-person voting. But both are ballots and both are able to be used. But if you reach a point where you're running low on ballots and you don't have the ability to print your own, which will then turn into a hand count, well, I'll sure print them out and run them to you. But if you're going to print your own or whatever, let me know. Let the clerk's office know that that you're doing that. But those will become a hand count kind of thing. Some of you went a higher percentage on this election. You know, it's anybody's guess what percentage of voters. Some of the municipalities, you have a tremendous number of voters. Some not so much. So anyway, just thought that it'd come up. So the next thing I want to talk about is the election update. You all should have all of your items, and you should have had a chance to do your pre-lat. Okay, so you can identify if you have any issues. We had one municipality that the name of the municipality has an extra letter in it, and Command Central is engaged and will fix it, will correct it for the November election. It doesn't really impact this election. I am the recipient of those documents, and it's clear what municipality it is, and even with that spelling error, and we'll correct it in November. So make sure you're looking at those headers, because they can be wrong. The humans that are putting this in, they make mistakes. I make a lot of mistakes whenever I'm typing, and I think it's because I only use 2 fingers for typing. But make sure you get your pre-lats done if you haven't done them yet. I've got your schedules for your public test. I plan on attending a few public tests. I'm just there to observe. I want to learn for myself if there's a better way to do something. And I'm also available if there's a question while I'm there. But I've got that. I'm going to put out that notice in the Shawano paper. And for those of you that don't publish in your own papers, you just publish on your website in 3 locations because you don't have an official paper, I will understand that, and there won't be a minor charge for this advertising for the type. But I am including everybody because I think that it's important that the electorate knows when we're doing things so they can be a part of the process. And so thanks for getting those dates into me, and my ability to update that is contingent on you guys doing that. So August the 11th is coming. We'll try to visit a few polling stations and try to share some of the things that we saw. Each of you digitally should have received the new election law manual. I'm ordering manuals. I had 4 or 5 individuals that 4 or 5 municipalities that indicated you've already printed it. It's quite an expensive thing. The Department of Administration is going to do it for $19. And so I'm going to go ahead and buy those, get them shipped here. There won't be any shipping costs for the municipalities, but you'll see a $19 bill on your whenever we do it after the November election. I think that'll probably be the next billing cycle. But that's a 900 and something page document. Digitally, you could type in and search what you're looking for, and it works pretty well, because I had to go in and research what do we do if we have a voter who voted absentee and their candidate of choice dropped out of the race. Now they want another ballot. They want to spoil their old one, and they want another ballot. I can go and look in my absentee ballots. I could pull that envelope out. I could spoil it and issue them a new ballot, but I won't, because it's against the law. It's state statute says that's not a mistake, that's not an error, and so I had to use our new election law manual to make sure I had the right answers, because Fox 11 wanted to interview me a couple of weeks ago, and that at 11 o'clock on a Friday, and I'm ready to hit the rummage sales, and they're asking me questions, but anyway, just so you know, that is state statute. I don't know if that'll change. But if you have someone who has not returned their ballot, an absentee voter who's not returned their ballot, and they want a new one because they marked the wrong candidate, well, then you can spoil that ballot, and you can issue them another ballot, up to 2 more ballots, for a total of 3 ballot chances. After that 3rd one, it's just too bad. And you can do it on election day. A person can receive, 2 additional ballots after the first one. And, people, I don't know why it says circle the oval, but people like to check it and mark outside the block and do those other things. But if you need anything on the election day, night, or whatever, I will be doing a better job. I'll provide my cell phone number so that you guys can reach me if I'm on the road and the phones are tied up here, because I don't want you to feel that you're out there alone trying to solve a problem that that we can assist with solving. So that will be one little difference between the the spring primary and the August one. I sent out an email today. I got it from Command Central, and you should have seen this in other, in the manual from Command Central, or the emails that they send out, and it's titled the 2026 Fall Primary Tabulator Scenarios. Whenever I did my pre-lat, I did a crossover vote. I picked the the Democratic Party as my party preference, and then I picked George Lisner as sheriff, and he's a Republican because I think he's a great sheriff. And I kind of anticipated whenever I put the ballot in that it would message me that, hey, you crossover voted, and kick it out. Well, if you look at the email on that, no, there'll be no alarm. It'll process it, and that vote for George doesn't count. I mean, it's one of those items that are listed here and what you'll hear. But several of them you won't hear an error message or a sound. Now you can go in before you push the select the standard voting in your ICE. You can go in and change it where it reviews every ballot that goes in, but that delays voting. It adds a little bit of time, and it's not suggested that you leave it on to review every ballot. You would use it for accessible voting, but you wouldn't want to use it just for normal voting. So it's important that we communicate to the voters that, read the general instructions on the ballot and the signs that you should have posted about this being a partisan election, that people are selecting their party, their preference, their candidates for these offices, whether it be Republican, Democrat, Constitutional Green, and Libertarian. They're picking for their party. And the voting, whenever they can, vote for other parties, that happens in November. You can vote for whoever you want to in November. But this one is the parties attempting to establish who their top candidate is for the November election. But review the tabulator scenarios and share that with your election workers, that some ballots are going to go through with no error message or sound. It's just going to ding and next voter. So, for instance, let's see. You selected your party preference, but you cross-voted. That's the one that I established for our edit list. And it says if the voter picks a party and proceeds to cross-vote and other parties then selected, only the votes within the party selected would count, but there won't be an error message or sound. And that vote didn't really count for them. So anyway, look at that. Let me know if you have any questions. The next thing that I have on here, I already discussed the e-law manual ordering. I did order those. I'll get us a delivery date, and then I will get them out to you the most expeditiously way we possibly can. But get your public test done, and then the election's on the 11th, 7 o'clock. I think that's kind of all that I had that I wanted to share with you. Do we have any questions or comments or anything that we're seeing out there that you want to share with someone else? Just push your microphone and raise your hand, push your microphone, and we can hopefully use this Clerk's Huddle as an opportunity to learn things. And I would say that you don't have to limit your questions to elections. You can ask questions about other things. For instance, you don't fall under county zoning and you want to know about, do we have a draft data center moratorium ordinance or resolution that you can take and modify for your municipality? Yeah, we do have. I can get you something, but you have to ask for it. You don't want to be put in a position where it looks like the county's just pushing out this guidance and making everyone, kind of forcing the municipalities to adopt these policies, because you don't want to have that come up in court. So your board's got to decide they want to do it, and we can assist you with that process. Another great tool for assistance is, of course, the Wisconsin Towns Association. And I assume all of you, your boards are members, you're members of it, and you have access to their records, their reports, their sample ordinances and resolutions. So, yeah. All right. Yeah, so I'll open it up. I feel like I'm talking too much.
Okay, I have a question. I don't know if you can hear me or not, Ray. This is
Sure
Judy.
can, Judy. Yep.
Okay. I had listened to a video from the Wisconsin Election Commission today, and they were going through absentee voting and how to do it and everything, but they had in there to take a sleeve. Where do I get the sleeves from for your voting, the day of your voting? What do you use for a sleeve? I can't hear
I'm
you.
sorry. I had my microphone off. But what were they using it for? Was it the ballot was put in it?
They were putting your ballot when the person comes in to vote and they take their ballot. Then you have a sleeve that ballot goes into, and they can walk over to that machine and stick that ballot into the machine without anybody seeing what they voted on. Instead of just carrying it over to the machine and putting it in, they talked about a sleeve. I was wondering where you get the sleeves, or do you make them yourself?
I would say I went on Election Source, which is, I mean, I just did a Google search real quick, and it's called a ballot secrecy sleeve, and it's what is this, $5.50 a piece. I don't know whether they come in bulk, and I see what they're intended for. I guess I would balance it from the town of Seneca's perspective as a clerk is, does my setup prevent people from maintaining the secrecy of their ballot? It did, and we made some adjustments and changes. And whenever I say it, you could see the screen from a distance. The way we had it set up in the past, the way we have it set up now, people walking through can't see the screen. I don't know why no one said anything over the years, but I guess I would leave it to you to, if you wanted to purchase these ballot secrecy sleeves that you're referring to. I'll see if there's some other sources, but I don't know of anybody that's using those, at least in Shawano County. Whenever I went and visited all the polling stations last two elections, no one is using it. I guess I would just balance it. Do you have people that are, it's, and the second thing I'll do is I'll check and see whether we must provide these sleeves.
Raymond?
Because there might be a legal requirement to provide them that I'm not aware of.
Raymond,
Yeah.
This is Chris Pry from the town of Waukesha. When we have a drive-up voter that can't come in, we use a legal file folder, and the ballots do fit in that, and they would be a lot cheaper if someone wants to use them.
Yeah, and that's addressed in the e-law manual on, how you handle somebody driving up and wanting to vote. They talk about putting it in such as that, but they don't talk about the purchasing. I mean, there's big money in election things like these sleeves. So if you're uncomfortable with the secrecy of the voting, the ballots, I would recommend that you do that, and then I'll get more information on, whether does Wisconsin require it, because Maryland and Michigan, they leave that up to their local election boards. Iowa requires it. I don't know about Wisconsin at this point. See, Wisconsin's not even on this list of requiring it at this point. But
Okay.
yeah, I would say do what your fellow municipality did.
Okay. I've heard it today and I was just kind of concerned about it. I thank you.
Okay. Now, any other questions? And I don't know if you've seen on the chat there, it talks about how the Zero report is connected. They leave it connected. I know there can be challenges with, you got to replace the tape with a new roll at some point. It depends on how big of an election it is. But as far as the Zero report and the results tape, I'm looking for them to be stapled to the tally sheets and turned in, and because the statute, the manual says should, and lawyers will tell you there's many definitions for should, and one of them doesn't require it, but it's a good idea. Yeah, unfortunately, we're not going to get credit for this Clerk's Huddle. WEC has procedures and through ElectEd on how to do this. So Rose, I see you're looking for information on ElectEd, and if you go to ElectEd's the site as a clerk, you can add voters. They each have to have their own email. You can't have, like I have a couple that works my elections. They couldn't use the same email that they've used together for the last 20 years. They had to have separate emails. But you can go on ElectEd, and I was just going to try to pull it up here. And all of you should have accounts with ElectEd to get your annual, or correction, every 2-year training. All right, where are you at, ElectEd? Why aren't you popping up? I apologize, it's not popping up like it should. All right, there it is. When you go into ElectEd and you log in, there is, let me see if it'll let me log in easy. Of course not. I was just looking at this earlier today. Yeah, I've got to find that. Oh, there it is. Add user. So you'll go in and into ElectEd. You'll under the management tab, and you'll want to add a user, and you'll have to put all of their information in there, and you can add them, and they'll get an email, and they will then be able to use ElectEd. And you can put in there what training you want them to do. I do not use ElectEd for anyone but my chief inspectors at this point, and because as the clerk, I'm responsible for their training. And it's not something that you report to the state or to me. That's something that you were responsible for doing. But I'll follow up. I see, Maria, you're doing your training and you're entering it in your in-person training sessions, and that's fine. That's what you That's what you're supposed to be doing. And but for me as the county clerk, I've got for you guys as clerks, there's a different standard. I need to make sure that I'm clear on what constitutes training in the eyes of Wisconsin Elections Commission versus what, equals just a huddle or a quick meeting to go over election items. So more to follow on that. What else do we have out there?
Hey, it's Heather Mucci. I have a question. Are we allowed to ask the absentee voters if we sent it out back in the very beginning and we still haven't received it? Like, just to make sure they got it?
Yeah, you're allowed to do that. You can reach out to them.
Yeah, because you never know if they even received it, because it's been how many weeks and I still haven't received them. So it's just kind of a sit there waiting game. And is there something that I'm not overstepping anything that I'm not going to make anybody upset that I'm asking them if they received it or not?
No. It's as a courtesy to them. You could be cold and just say, well, you didn't turn it back in. But no, as a good clerk, there's no prohibition on you reaching out and saying, hey, I just want to make sure you got it.
I know we all want to make sure we get that stuff because we hate that pending crap.
Oh, yes. All right.
This is Karen from the town of Pella.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
I have a question. I had an overseas voter who the ballot was emailed to from you,
Mm-hmm.
and then she told you she was coming back to the States for the summer, which she has. And today I received her ballot, but my question is, does this get handled as a hand count, or because the confidentiality of the ballot is gone, because it wasn't in an envelope per se when she sent it back? It was just in one envelope, and when I opened the envelope, because it was just addressed to Clerk of the Town of Pella, and I opened it, and now I have the ballot, and I have a copy of her official absentee ballot certificate and application. So how do I handle this?
I would just take that ballot and put it in an envelope, in your absentee ballot envelope that you hand off to your election inspectors on election day for processing. And you've got two options. I mean, it's open. If you want to process it, you could spoil that one, and because the voter's intent, and you could do one that can be run through the machine, or you can hand count, as you indicated, that particular one. But I would just seal it in an envelope. And then you can annotate it on your incident log that ballot was received and not in an envelope with the document attached to the outside. Because I don't. And she had contacted me and said she was coming back. She actually indicated she was going to vote in person, but so she returned it to vote.
She did.
Oh,
Yes,
okay.
and it's signed and everything. So I wasn't sure if I could remake it so I can send it through the machine, or
You most certainly can make it yourself, and that'll be a ballot. The remade ballot will go into the envelope that comes to me. So one of you need a couple of election workers to supervise that remaking of that ballot. Yeah, and then tear the other one so that it can't, you can't run it through a machine anyway, but go ahead and tear it anyway as you would with a regular ballot.
Okay.
But
Thank you for I wasn't sure how to handle that.
yeah, that's what I would do.
Okay, thank you.
All right. I'm going to do this again tomorrow at 9, and like I said, we're recording this. I'm going to see what I get for a transcript or a recording of this. I'll share this. I don't know how big the file will be. I don't know. We'll see at the end of this whether it's able to be shared, or how that works. I've used Teams a lot. I've never been the person that hosted it. So, yeah. Judith, do you have your hand up, Judy? Okay. Yeah. Well, I don't want to. Oh. Yeah, I'm going to cover the same topics. And as far as what we need to, what's come up today that I have on mind, the sleeve and the election training and how to make sure that we're getting credit for the training that we do. Those are the two things that'll come out of this, but I'll send that out in an email with the answers on that. We'll talk about it tomorrow and let them know, whoever's able to attend that. I've got 4 or 5 people that have signed up. But no, it's the same topics. Yeah, for that question that came in through the chat. I'm glad that, what do we have, 20 people, and hopefully, the opportunity to attend for those that work during the day, and that this time works. We can adjust. I'm not as hard on the work day as our county board. We have to have our meetings at 3. And then I also will do it during the working days so that people, that have the ability can attend, either session. So it's my intent to do this. I want to try to do these, quarterly. That might be too much. But as different things come up, I want to add topics in the future of, whether it's, the municipal financial reports, the CT reports, or if it's, developing your budgets, questions that you may have, the reports that are due. We've got, 15 or 20 reports that we do throughout the year. Anybody that's had a challenge with those and had to figure it out themselves, it's great to hear from you what you did and what the problem was and how you solved it. Yeah. So the topics are that you want for the agenda are whatever you want to put on there. And this one just happened to be election because, we've got the partisan primary coming up. Susie, do you have anything else for the group?
I do not. And just thanks everyone for joining. It's amazing. I'm excited that we got this many people.
Sounds good. All right. Yeah, and if you take it off, I'm on Susie's. If you have something you want to meet and talk about the next time, please email me. And if there are no other questions, we'll go ahead and call this one tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Susie and Ray.
Thank you.
Thanks.